Did you know the average person gains anywhere from 3 to 7 pounds of fat from Halloween to the new year? Yeah, they might take a couple of those off, but gradually, year after year, that's how people add that 10, 20, or even 30 pounds of fat in addition to also losing lean muscle. Now, even if you train hard and get after it, this can still happen to you. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the best strategies that you can use to go into the new year lean, healthy, and jacked instead of soft and pudgy from having way too much pumpkin pie. Honestly, there's no reason to wait until January 1st. Waiting until you get busy, you're always going to be busy, right? And so every time that we say, I'm going to wait until things are not busy, we are simply reinforcing that same notion that we need the perfect circumstances to get in shape and to stay in shape, which just further makes it impossible to get in said shape. So let's get after it. Let's make sure that you are strong, lean, and jacked going into 2025 instead of making excuses like the vast majority of people. Let's get it. Now, before we jump in here, I want to highlight that it is our Black Friday season of gains. This is our biggest sale ever. And so here's what we are doing when you sign up for coaching, when you join the Elite Look Great Naked protocol. If you sign up for 4 months of coaching, you get 4 weeks 100% free. Now, if you sign up for 6 weeks, 9 months, 9 weeks, and if you sign up for a full year, which a lot of our guys are with us for at least a year, you are getting a full 12 weeks of coaching 100% on the house. Guys, that is thousands of dollars in free value. But that is not the only thing. On top of that, we are also giving away blood work with our partner Blokes and integrating all of that data and information directly into your coaching program. So here's how it works. You are able to go in, get blood work at a place like LabCorp, and this panel will tell us everything: testosterone, cortisol, insulin sensitivity, how well your thyroid is functioning, any vitamin and mineral status or deficiency, like vitamin D, which is typically a problem this time of year. And we can use that information, incorporate it directly into everything that we are doing with our training to give you a science-backed, experience-proven experience to not only look great naked, but learn how to be able to keep the results that you're looking to get in the gym. Whether we're talking about losing body fat, whether we're talking about building lean muscle, all of that stuff is going to be taken care of. And then we have the health data as well to reinforce and show you how well it is working. And you know that this is going to be a permanent transformation for you. So thousands of dollars in value for all of these coaching programs, 100% for free when you sign up during our Black Friday season of gains. Team, reach out to me over on Instagram at Bach Performance. Send me the keyword gains and I will send you the information that you need. Make sure you take advantage though, because spots are going to be limited. Of course, if we are buying blood work, we're going over that analysis. You're meeting with a functional medicine doctor, all of this stuff. It does take us a lot of time. And so because of that, we want to make sure we're delivering the highest quality results to you inside of the coaching program. And so by extension, spots are going to be limited with that. Now, guys, it is 100% my passion to help people optimize their health, build lean muscle, lose body fat, optimize performance. And the reason I love doing this so much is I understand from a visceral level how much it has changed my life. I used to be a small kid, the skinny kid, the overlooked kid. And for me, getting in the gym became something that created a transformational experience, not just physically, but mentally. I knew that if I put in the work with what I needed to do in the gym, then by extension of that, I could put in the work and see the results of my labor in so many different areas of my life. And this same change that happened, not just with my body, but my mindset, my way of operating, helped me improve my personal life, my professional life. It's why I have a successful business now, right? And I see these same changes in my clients, whether they're 25, 30, 35, 40. I've got clients as old as 75 years old right now, because when they make that transformation, when they start to look, feel, and perform their best, the benefits of fitness bleed over into everything else. And I absolutely love how that makes a positive ripple effect into the lives of so many people. And I think that's one of the most important things that we need to focus on. Fitness can be a tough journey when things are not working for us, right? When we're working hard, not seeing the results that we want. But because there's a latent impact, we have to do the work first before we see those immediate results. A lot of people give up on that journey. But the reality is all we can do is keep putting that same foot forward with a simple, straightforward plan that's going to lead us to where we want to go. And the way that fitness is going to impact you is by making your body healthier down to the cellular level, give you more energy, better brain function, more discipline. And those habits, those principles, those skill sets, gang, that can bleed over to everything else in your life. And that's why fitness is so important and why fitness is a force multiplier to improving everything else in your life. Now, more specifically, let's talk about getting lean and staying lean during the holidays after this cup of coffee. So what we have to do is we have to acknowledge, not just ignore, that everything across the board this time of year is going to be different. You probably have at least one social event per week. There's probably fourth quarter demands on you at work. If you've got kids like I do, hey, you might have, Christmas cookies, experiences, all of these things that are important. I'm not the type of coach who's going to say you're going to have to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli for the rest of your life and white knuckle it and never enjoy the holidays. That's not how I roll. Frankly, I don't think that's how 99% of people should roll either. We have to understand that there are going to be times when we want to be able to enjoy ourselves. We want fitness to be something that enhances these experiences, not makes us feel like we are missing out. And so, what we have to do is build a structure and build a strategy to help you accomplish your goals while keeping in mind that we want to be able to have some fun at the same time. Now, when it comes to the holidays, it's not carbs that are the main issue. More often than not, it's fats and carbs and fats together. And so, what we have to think about here is think of all the foods that you have during this time of year and what they're composed of. I grew up in the Midwest, right? So things with like a lot of heavy creams, a shitload of delicious cheese, all of these things are very high in fat. Desserts, same thing. They're often a combination of fat and the carbohydrates. And specifically with fats, we got to remember that they are over twice as calorically dense as a carbohydrate, right? If you think about it, if you look at your thumb as an example, that's probably about the serving size of some nuts. That's 180 calories, right? That's going to have more calories than if you look at your hand again, your palm of chicken breast. So it's really easy to overconsume those calories when it comes to fat, particularly when we are surrounded by foods and an environment that makes it conducive to eat a ton of them. Man, I was just at a Christmas party the other day and they had a charcuterie board. Man, they had all the prosciutto, all the delicious meats, some smoked Gouda cheese, like all of this stuff. Delicious, but again, fat bombs, calorie bombs, which make us overshoot what we're eating, and therefore we run into issues. So let's just operate under the assumption that at least once per week, you are going to be in an environment like this. You're going to have a party, you're going to have a gathering. And so what we need to do is we need to strategically set up a plan. And that plan, I call it the 4-2-1 holiday fat loss strategy. I have used this to get last year, frankly, photo shoot ripped for a trip to the beach in January. Nothing like taking a work trip out to Cancun, and still was able to enjoy, again, a lot of these experiences, Thanksgiving, holiday parties, making cookies with my little girl, all these things, right? These are all important. And so here's what we do. We're going to have 4 days where we are in a fat loss phase, 2 aggressive fat loss days, and then 1 free day. So here's how we want to set up the 4-2-1 fat loss strategy. You're going to take your body weight in pounds times 10. That should give you a fairly aggressive calorie deficit, right? So if you're 200 pounds, about 2,000 calories. Now, you're going to take your body weight times 1, 4 grams of protein. So if you're 200 pounds, 200 grams of protein. You're going to go 0.75 for carbs. So 200 pounds, 150 grams of carbs, and then about body weight times 0.3, which comes out to about 60 grams of fats. And that's going to give you a rough ballpark, I think 1,940 calories, not quite 2,000 in terms of where you're at, right? But a very simple way to set this up: 200 pounds, 2,000 calories, 200 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and about 60 grams of fat, right? How do we set this up? Body weight times 10, calories. Protein, 1 pound per pound of body weight. Carbohydrates, 0.75 grams of carbohydrates. And then fat, about 0.3. This gives you a little bit of wiggle room. You're right around that 2,000 mark. That's going to be a good deficit to hold for 4 days during the week. Now, we want to be able to dial things up now as we get closer to an event. So let's say that we did this on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you have a party on Saturday. Thursday and Friday, we're actually going to take that calorie deficit and make it even more aggressive, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take your calories down by about 25%. And so for simple math, in this case, that 2,000 calories that we had, that person would now be at 1,500 calories. What we want to do is we want to keep protein high, right? Naturally, as we go into a calorie deficit, we want to keep protein relatively higher the more aggressive the calorie deficit is. Otherwise, we lose lean muscle tissue. This slows down your metabolic rate, and you just get that skinny fat body that doesn't have the lean muscle definition that we're really looking for when it comes to looking great naked. And so in the case with the 200-pound individual that I'm referring to, we'd reduce calories by 25%, take 500 calories a day from carbs and fats. And so the way that this could look like, you could go 1,500 calories, 2,000 or 200 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and then say 40 grams of fat. Now, you can pick it and take it away from carbohydrates or fat, whatever is going to be easiest for you. The evidence is pretty clear here that there's a ton of interpersonal variability, but as long as you hit your total calories and keep your protein, you can adjust your calorie deficit from either carbohydrates or fat. But a simple example here, 200 pounds, 1,500 calories, 200 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and then 40 grams of fat or so. The reason that we want to create this calorie deficit If we're looking at somebody who's say 200 pounds, and maintenance level for them might be 2,800 calories, right? So if we have 2,800 and we're at an 800 calorie deficit by 4 days, about 2,400 calories, and now we're reducing that even further, building another buffer. We basically built a buffer of 3,500 calories, right? Meaning, because we have been aggressive for 4 days and then more aggressive for 2 days leading up to the event, we have built up a calorie buffer. Whereas your overall calorie deficit throughout the week is going to be fairly substantial up to this point. What this does, this allows you to eat a little bit more on, say, Saturday, when you're going to be surrounded by all of this delicious food, right? You're going to be surrounded by temptation this week. And so what we have to do is we have to build a plan that factors that in. And so if we think about it, if your maintenance calories is 2,800 and now you have already created a deficit of almost 4,000 calories, you can eat that full 2,800 calories so you can still fit in your favorite foods, or you can even overshoot it and go, hey, cool, go 3,500, go 4,000 calories. You can, whatever you want to do. But the thing we have to think about there is, because we have been strategic in a way that we have eaten the week up to the event, we have now built in the flexibility to be able to enjoy that event. Like, you don't even have to track it. But this is a structure that I like to use, because by making strategic trade-offs during the week, it gives me the freedom, it gives me the flexibility to enjoy these other events that are so important. Heck, I'm already planning for when my dad's coming to hang out with us for Christmas, and looking at some, tomahawk ribeyes, getting all that stuff dialed in, getting some recipes going, because I love to cook. And like, hey, yeah, I want to be able to enjoy those events. I want to be able to enjoy those experiences, make cookies with my daughter, all of that fun shit. Hell yeah. But we have to plan ahead. And so where most people get stuck is they turn one holiday party into 3 or 4 days of grazing, and then they wonder why that body fat comes in. So it's 4, 2, 1. Now, I want to talk about that day, though, of overeating. What do we have to focus on? What are the things that are going to be important here? Well, we got to understand that on that overeating day, we're likely going to be surrounded by higher fat and more carbohydrates, and probably actually a little bit less protein than we would normally have. And so we want to make sure that we are still getting our protein numbers, still getting around that 200 grams for that particular day. Even 180 would be fine, being a little bit shy, because that is going to help us stay full on the foods that are going to be most satiating, right? Protein is the most satiating macronutrient. And of course, it's going to help us with the recovery from our training, which we are still doing. And when we think about the foods that we're eating when it comes to being at an event, if we're very health conscious already, we're probably eating leaner cuts of beef, right? Like, for example, if I'm having beef, I'm often having like 93.7 or even 96.4. If I'm going to somebody's house and we're having burgers on the grill, understand I'm probably eating 80-20, right? So I'm getting 3 times the amount of fat than I would be otherwise. And so I have to plan that accordingly. And so understand when you're going out to these meals, again, people are most likely focused on making things taste as great as they can, not trying to hit your macros. So you're definitely going to be consuming more fat than usual. And if you're having other dishes like lasagna, my mom makes a fantastic lasagna. Yep. Even us Germans and Irish folks can make lasagna that's fantastic, right? But anyway, like having more pasta dishes, hot dish if you're in the Midwest, whatever it is, you're going to be surrounded by cream of mushroom. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of noodles, a lot of different things, a lot of carbohydrate sources that are combined with those higher fats to overshoot your calories. So what we want to think about is we have to be able to get our protein intake and keep those macronutrients ideally a little bit lower leading up to whatever party or event that we go to. We have to understand that when we're surrounded by these foods that are combined with fats, probably a lot of salt and a lot of carbohydrates, are going to be hyper palatable and make it really easy for us to overeat. That is the devil with the processed food. So the days that we have our holiday event, cheat day, whatever you want to call it, make sure we're still getting a lot of protein and veggies early in the day before that event, and then you can enjoy yourself guilt-free and then get back on track the following day. That is the best way to approach the one diet day. Now, speaking about training, what we have to think about is, yes, we have to keep consistent training in. Otherwise, if we are dieting hard in the face of not training, we lose lean muscle tissue. Not great, especially if you want to look great naked. And then from a cheat day, quote unquote cheat day, we also want to train because we're filling our body with all these additional calories. If we train hard on that particular day, we are providing the physiological stimulus to build lean muscle. So one thing I always like to do is I pretty much always have my leg day on a Saturday because I know I'm going to have, I'm going to be out to dinner, going to be having more high calorie foods typically on a Saturday. So by training with that hardest workout of the particular day in, great. My body becomes more effective at using those additional calories to be able to build lean muscle and lose body fat. In addition, speaking of losing body fat, when we do train, we have to think of our muscles like a sponge, right? So when you have a sponge and you crinkle it up in your hand, you put it in water and let it expand, what does it do? It pulls that water in, right? And so when we train, we're kind of creating that crinkled up sponge type of reaction with our muscles. And then when we fill it up with carbohydrates and all this additional food, guess what? Your muscles will absorb that and use that more effectively. So training makes your overeating a lot less damaging, so to speak. So we want to train on the particular day. Throughout the month or the months around the holidays, one thing you want to focus on is trying to keep your daily step count as high as you can. A lot of research has looked at NEAT, not exercise activity thermogenesis, and this is one of the key factors when it comes to losing body fat and keeping it off, and it's being more active throughout the day. Step count's a very simple way to do this. So if you can just tie in more activity, more short walks, anything like that, if you have a stand-up desk or a walking desk, little things like this can have a huge impact during the holidays when most people actually slow down with their activity level. So get out and go for those walks, do different things throughout the day just to keep yourself moving. That's going to be very beneficial when it comes to fat loss. Personally, I like to go for a walk. I do a longer walk in the morning. I do one around lunchtime for a mental break as much as anything else. And then in the evening, we always do a family walk after dinner. That's going to help with insulin sensitivity, all of that stuff directly after workout, especially, again, on the days where you are overeating. But beyond that, if you can add in 2 high-intensity training days, so sprints, 10 to 20 seconds all out, 60 seconds rest, that's going to be helpful. I do sprints twice a week. And typically what I'm doing here is I do a nice little warm up, make sure that I'm not going to pop a hammy, anything like that. And then it's going to be 10 to 15 second sprints all out, 60 seconds rest, just walking around the neighborhood, and I keep firing that up. So that's one thing that I'll do. I do that twice per week. Ideally, you do that on a separate day from your training, depending on what the training split that you have. Or you can do it on the back end of your leg days. Just make sure you start conservatively if you have not sprinted in a while. Sprinting is a high risk, high velocity activity. So you do have to build up that skill set and, frankly, the resilience in your joints, tendons, ligaments, and muscles, all of that good stuff. Finally, if you can fit it, again, so much of this depends on your schedule, what's going to be practical and sustainable for you. But if you can get more regular cardio in, I like zone 2 cardio. So take 220 minus your age, and then you want to multiply that by 0.6. That's going to give you your target heart rate. If you're like me, mid 30s, I'm 35. So what I'll do is, 2 days of that zone 2 cardio, my heart rate would be between 115 and 135 for about 30 minutes. For me, I'll just kind of go on the assault bike. A lot of times what I'll actually be doing there is answering client messages, stuff like that. It lets me get my work done, but also get that cardiovascular benefit. Again, you have to fit this around your schedule, what that activity level looks like. The more activity level, though, that you can have, if you are trying to take the season of gains, the season of excess calories, and limit any fat gain, the more active you can be, the better off your results will be. Now, when it comes to an intra-workout, your overall approach there, if you're somebody who drinks like a sugary, highly branched cyclic dextrin, I would try to limit any liquid calories that you are getting, right? I mean, you can have protein shakes, but anything else throughout the week, if you can cut those down, that's going to be a very simple thing. I think with liquid calories, right, like they are not satiating. They're not going to keep you full, really easy to overconsume. And most things are going to be sugar bombs anyway. So obviously try to drink things that are going to have the reduced overall calorie allotment because you're going to be having probably more desserts, more things with carbohydrates in later on. Anyway, ditch the sugary intra-workout. That's not really going to help you, right? We got to be able to create that buffer. A few other strategies that you can take and deploy here. Let's see. Number one, aiming for about that 1 gallon of water per day. You don't want to be chugging your water, instead sipping it consistently throughout the day. That is going to help, particularly when it comes to being in a calorie deficit. Your body does not get full on calories, it gets full on volume. And so filling your body up with water can be a great strategy to actually feel a little bit more full and prevent overeating. Obviously, from a digestive component, being adequately hydrated, from an injury prevention, all that stuff is going to be very crucial. Before you go out, if you're struggling to get your protein intake, have a quick protein shake. Again, quick 30-gram scoop, boom, there you go. It's going to help your body feel more full and satiated before you actually get to an event. And by extension of that, you're going to be less likely to overeat on the things that are not supportive of you and your goals. And then again, getting those short walks in. Now, a couple other things to focus on, right? You can always look at something like an intermittent fast or a 24-hour fast the day after if you have a particularly calorically dense meal. So let's say you had an event on a Saturday, right? And you're eating, drinking, doing all that stuff. Well, let's say you wrapped up 7 or 8 p.m. Maybe you just want to hold off until roughly dinner the next night until you actually have a solid meal. And then by extension of that, your body's had a chance to, you've had a chance to go to the bathroom, you're properly hydrated, like all of that, your body's kind of dissipated and done a little bit of damage control. That's going to help support that calorie deficit for the rest of the week. That is one option. Also, pay attention to things like water and alcohol intake. So, if you're going to be drinking and enjoying yourself, try to stick to mostly things that are not high calorie bombs. So, like the sugary drinks, margaritas, all of that. I like a tequila soda, vodka soda. Occasionally, I'll just have some whiskey on the rocks or tequila on the rocks. Those are great options. But just alternate the water that you're getting directly with the alcohol. That's going to help. Again, you can still enjoy yourself, but it's going to help limit the damage a little bit. And then finally, sleep, right? Hey, we had daylight savings. Every day is a little bit darker now or a little bit earlier. That should help you unwind. Sleep needs to be optimized if you want to be able to optimize health, testosterone levels, fat loss, muscle growth, all of that stuff. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse when I talk about it. But when it comes to sleep, I always think 10, 3, 2, 1, 0. So avoid caffeine 10 hours before bed. We want to make sure that that gets up because the half-life of caffeine will mean that you are still going to have some caffeine flowing through your body when you're trying to go to bed. If you're drinking espressos at 4 in the afternoon, three hours before bed, try to stop doing work, right? If you're doing work, your body's going to struggle to really like ruminate. You're going to be having your mind racing. Maybe you need to journal, do stuff like that. If you can't shut your brain down and fall asleep, try to back up how soon or how close to bed you are actually doing work. Number two would be cut food out. Ideally, again, you want to be going to bed at 10 o'clock and eating a big meal at 9. Your body's going to divert a lot more of the resources that would go towards healing your organs, towards defragmenting your brain directly towards your gut, and you're probably going to have some GI issues over the following days. Number 1 hour before bed, try to cut out on the electronics. Hey, I know that's not always easy during football season, but if you can wear blue blockers, you can reduce the screen intensity. All of that stuff is going to help because that screen is actually going to prevent the release of melatonin, more specifically the blue light. And then finally, 0, if you do these steps and stay consistent with it, hopefully 0 times you are hitting snooze. Now, there's a lot going on there, but the basic strategy, 4-2-1. We want 4 days with a calorie deficit, 2 days that are a very aggressive calorie deficit, and then 1 day that can be absolutely free. If you do that, you can get shredded, you can get leaner, you can look great naked without living in the gym and enjoy the holiday season. Now, if you want me to set that up directly for you, if you want to take advantage of up to 12 weeks of free coaching, blood work, data-driven coaching that is fully guaranteed and backed with over 15 years of experience, head over to Instagram right now, send me a DM with the word gains, and I will show you the next simple step that we can take to help you look great naked without living in the gym. Spots for that will be limited. We do close the doors on Black Friday, the 29th of November, I believe. And so make sure you get your applications in before that point. All right. Until next time, train hard, train smart. I will catch you on the next one.